You are being lied to about your truck's oil. Every single time you pop open your wallet for that $80 synthetic, someone is counting their profit and laughing at how good you've been to them. I have been turning wrenches on pickup trucks for 22 years. I have pulled engines out of more trucks than I can count. I have seen what happens inside an engine at 300,000 miles when it's been maintained right, and I have seen what happens when it hasn't. And I am going to tell you about a trick that costs $3. A trick that Japanese mechanics have been using for decades that will protect your truck engine better than any $80 synthetic oil on the market today. But before I get into that, if you are learning something here, hit subscribe. I cover the truth about truck maintenance every single week, and I am not going to stop. The dealers do not want you to know this information. I know because I used to be the guy who fixed what they broke. Now, what oil are you running in your truck right now? Drop the brand and your current mileage in the comments. I read every single one. Here's what I want you to understand. The synthetic oil industry is a multi-billion-dollar marketing machine. It is not built on making your engine last longer. It is built on making you feel like you are doing something premium for your truck. Like spending more money somehow equals more protection. And I am going to show you exactly why that is not true, and exactly what to do instead for $3. Let me start with what I have seen with my own eyes. I have done oil analysis on dozens of trucks. I have sent oil samples to labs and paid for the tests myself because I needed to know the truth. I have tested conventional oil changed every 3,000 miles against synthetic changed every 5,000, 7,500, even 10,000 miles. And what I found is not what the marketing departments want you to know. Fresh oil, regardless of whether it is conventional or synthetic, will always outperform aged oil. The most important factor is not whether you are using synthetic. The most important factor is that you are changing your oil on time, with oil that is correct for your engine, and that you are keeping that oil clean. Now here is where the Japanese trick comes in. Japanese mechanics, particularly in the commercial fleet world, never adopted the synthetic oil culture the way American drivers did. They ran conventional oil in most of their engines, and they still do. But they did not just run plain conventional oil. They added a specific type of engine treatment to the oil during every oil change. This treatment costs about $3 per application. It is called Rizlone engine treatment, and it has been around since the 1950s. Japanese fleet mechanics discovered that when you add a mild engine cleaning additive to fresh conventional oil at every oil change, you get something remarkable. You get an engine that stays internally clean. The rings do not coke up. The oil passages do not sludge. The valve train stays free. And the engine runs the way it did the day it came from the factory, for hundreds of thousands of miles. Now let me explain why this works and why synthetic alone will not do the same thing. When you run any engine, you get some blow-by gases that push past the piston rings. Those gases carry contaminants into the oil. Over time, those contaminants create sludge and deposits on internal surfaces. Synthetic oil resists this better than conventional oil, I will grant that. Synthetic oil does have a higher flash point and better thermal stability. But here is what the synthetic oil companies will not tell you. The deposits that do form, even with synthetic oil, do not get cleaned out. They sit there, they accumulate, and eventually they restrict oil flow to the top end, the camshaft, the lifters, the rocker arms. On high mileage engines, this is one of the primary causes of the ticking noises you hear on startup. That is metal to metal, folks. That is your engine telling you it is not getting oil where it needs it. With the Japanese trick, you are doing something different. Every 3,000 miles, you are draining out the old oil with its accumulated contaminants, and you are putting in fresh conventional oil with Rizlone added. The Rizlone contains mild solvents that clean the existing deposits as the fresh oil circulates. It is not a one-time miracle fix. It is a cumulative maintenance protocol. Over time, the engine internals stay cleaner than they would on either synthetic alone or conventional alone, and it costs $3. Let me tell you about specific trucks where I have seen this work. I had a 2001 Chevrolet Silverado with the 5.3-liter Vortec. This truck came to me at 210,000 miles with a slight tick on startup. The previous owner had been running synthetic oil, top-tier expensive synthetic, but he was changing it every 7,500 miles, which is what the owner's manual said. The tick was coming from the valve train, from coked-up lifters that were not getting oil properly. I performed the Japanese trick on that engine. 3,000-mile conventional oil changes with Rizlone added at each change. By 60,000 miles later, at 270,000 total, the tick was gone, completely gone. The lifters had cleaned up. I have seen that happen on 4 different trucks since then. Another one, a 2006 Ford F-150 with the 5.4-liter 3-valve Triton. If you know these engines, you know the cam phaser problem. The variable valve timing phasers on the 5.4-liter 3-valve are notorious for failing, usually between 80,000 and 120,000 miles. The cause is almost always oil degradation and sludge blocking the phaser passages. Ford knows about this. They extended the warranty on the phasers for this specific engine because they knew it was a design flaw. A truck owner in my area brought me his 2008 F-150 with the 5.4-liter 3-valve at 95,000 miles. The check engine light was on and the dealer quoted him $2,400 for phaser replacement. He came to me instead. I did not replace the phasers. I did the Japanese trick. 3,000-mile conventional changes with Rizlone, using a 5W30 conventional oil, which is what Ford actually specifies for this engine when it is not under warranty. At 130,000 miles now, no check engine light, no phaser noise. The truck runs like it should. Now let me be very clear about something. This is not a guarantee. If your phasers are already mechanically failed, if the internal components are physically worn, Rizlone will not fix that. But in most cases, what people think is a phaser failure is actually oil starvation from sludge, and that is fixable with the right maintenance protocol. Let me talk about what you need to do this and exactly how much it costs. For a standard V8 pickup truck engine, you need 5 quarts of conventional oil. I use conventional 5W30 or 10W30 depending on your climate. In eastern Tennessee, where I live, I run 10W30 year-round. It is what Ford and GM both specify for these engines in moderate climates. 5 quarts of a major brand conventional oil, Mobil, Valvoline, Pennzoil, it does not matter, about $3 per quart. So $15 for oil. A standard oil filter about $8. And 1 bottle of Rizlone engine treatment, which is about $3.50. Your total cost per oil change is about $26.50. Compare that to a full synthetic change at most shops, which runs $65 to $85. You are saving $40 to $60 every 3,000 miles. Now let me address the obvious question. Why not just run synthetic? Here's the truth. Synthetic oil is not inherently bad. Synthetic oil is chemically engineered to resist breakdown longer than conventional oil. That is a real property. But here is what the synthetic oil industry does not want you to understand. The protection your engine gets from oil comes primarily from 2 things. Fresh oil, with the correct viscosity, reaching the bearing surfaces, and keeping that oil clean, meaning not letting it accumulate contaminants that abrade internal parts. You can achieve both of these goals with conventional oil changed every 3,000 miles and a $3 additive. You do not need an $80 synthetic to do it. In fact, here is the dirty secret. Most full synthetic oils on the market today are not even full synthetic. They are what the industry calls synthetic blends. They are partially conventional oil with synthetic additives mixed in, but they cost nearly as much as full synthetic. You are paying $80 for something that is maybe 40% better than conventional at absolute best. And when you factor in the longer drain intervals that synthetic marketing encourages, you are actually running older, more degraded oil in your engine for more miles between changes. That is not protection. That is a marketing win and an engine loss. Now let me address the other scam, and this one is really infuriating. Oil change intervals. Manufacturers have been extending recommended oil change intervals for years. Ford now says you can go 7,500 miles between synthetic oil changes on some models. GM says the same. The reason is not that your engine does not need fresh oil more frequently. The reason is that longer oil change intervals sell more oil. Every time you go 7,500 miles instead of 3,000, you buy 2 fewer oil changes per year. That is oil you are not buying. That is profit for the manufacturer and the oil companies. And the engines are not designed to go longer between changes. They are designed to need oil at 3,000 to 5,000 miles. But the manufacturers know that most truck owners trust the owner's manual, so they print longer intervals because it makes their compliance numbers look better and it sells more product. This is not conspiracy theory, this is basic business incentive. They profit when you change your oil less frequently, and they profit when you buy expensive synthetic. The two things together are a cash register ringing every single time you take your truck to a shop. The Japanese trick fights both of those scams at the same time. You are using cheap conventional oil, which fights the expensive synthetic scam. You are changing it every 3,000 miles, which fights the extended interval scam. And you are adding the Rizlone, which actually improves the cleaning performance of the oil over time, building cumulative protection that synthetic alone cannot match. Your engine gets cleaner internally at 100,000 miles than it had at 50,000 miles, because every single oil change has been actively cleaning it. Let me walk you through exactly how to do this on your truck. Step 1. Determine your engine's oil capacity. Most V8 pickup truck engines hold 5 to 6 quarts. Check your owner's manual or just look it up online. The specific engine code plus the phrase oil capacity will give you the answer in about 30 seconds. Step 2. Buy 5 or 6 quarts of conventional oil in the weight your manufacturer specifies. Again, this is in your owner's manual. Do not overthink this. Mobil, Pennzoil, Valvoline, any major brand is fine. Step 3. Buy 1 bottle of Rizlone engine treatment. It is usually in the oil additive aisle at any auto parts store. The bottle is small, about 9 ounces. 1 bottle treats up to 6 quarts of oil. Step 4. Perform your oil change as you normally would. Drain the old oil, replace the filter, add the fresh conventional oil. Step 5. Add the Rizlone to the fresh oil in the crankcase. Pour it in before you put the last quart in, or after, it does not matter. Step 6. Start the engine, let it idle for 2 minutes, check for leaks around the filter and drain plug, and you are done. That is it. That is the entire protocol. 30 minutes in your driveway, $26.50 out of pocket, and your engine is getting protection that an $80 synthetic cannot match. Now let me talk about the specific trucks where this matters most. If you own a late 1990s or early 2000s Ford F-150 with the 4.6-liter or 5.4-liter modular V8, this is your protocol. These engines were built with cross-flow style heads, and they are prone to valve train deposits if they are not run on the right oil schedule. The conventional plus Rizlone protocol keeps the lifters and phasers clean. I have seen these engines make 350, 400,000 miles with this maintenance approach. The 5.4-liter 2-valve version is particularly robust if you maintain it right. The 3-valve version, which I mentioned earlier, benefits even more because of the phaser issue. If you own a 1999 through 2007 Chevrolet Silverado or GMC Sierra with the 4.8-liter, 5.3-liter, or 6.0-liter Vortec V8, same protocol applies. These are outstanding engines. The Vortec V8 is one of the best engine platforms General Motors has ever built. With proper maintenance, these engines will go 400,000 miles without a rebuild. The key is consistent oil changes with the right viscosity and the occasional additive to keep the oil galleries clean. The Rizlone protocol does exactly that. If you own a Dodge Ram with the 5.9-liter or 6.7-liter Cummins, this is even more critical. The Cummins is a diesel, so the oil change intervals and oil specifications are different, but the principle is the same. Clean oil at the right interval with the right additive keeps a Cummins running basically forever. I have seen 2003 Cummins-powered Rams cross 500,000 miles on the original engine with nothing but proper maintenance. If you own a Toyota Tundra or Tacoma with the 4.7-liter V8 or the 3.4-liter V6, these engines are already known for longevity. But the Japanese trick still applies, especially if you are using your truck for towing or heavy loads. Toyota engines respond very well to consistent conventional oil changes. They were designed for it. Now let me tell you about something I saw on a teardown that really drove this home for me. About 3 years ago, a man in my area brought me a 1997 F-150 with the 4.6-liter V8. He had bought it new, and he had performed this exact protocol on it for its entire life. Conventional oil every 3,000 miles with Rizlone added at every change. The truck had 387,000 miles on it when he finally retired it from daily driving. He wanted to keep the engine for a project truck, so he asked me to pull it and go through it. When I pulled the valve covers, I expected to see some deposits. There were almost none. The cylinder heads were remarkably clean. The cam lobes showed minimal wear. The main bearings were in excellent condition. This engine at 387,000 miles looked better inside than most engines I have seen at 100,000 miles that were running synthetic and going 7,500 miles between changes. I have also seen the other side of that. I have seen engines at 120,000 miles that were running synthetic and going 7,500 miles between changes that had significant sludge in the valley, around the valve train, and in the oil pan. This is not universal. There are plenty of well-maintained synthetic engines out there. But the pattern I have seen repeatedly is that synthetic oil used with extended drain intervals creates a different kind of problem than conventional oil used with short drain intervals. The conventional plus frequent change approach keeps everything flushed clean. The synthetic plus extended interval approach resists degradation but does not actively clean existing deposits. If you are starting with a clean engine and you use synthetic with extended intervals, you might be fine. But most engines are not starting from clean by the time they are 5 or 6 years old because the previous owner did not maintain them properly. That is actually one of the best things about the Rizlone protocol. You do not need a perfect starting point. If you buy a used truck with unknown maintenance history and you start doing the Japanese trick right away, the Rizlone will actively clean the deposits that are already there over the course of the first several oil changes. The first couple of oil analysis tests on that truck might look rough. After about 3 or 4 changes, the oil will come back clean and you will notice the engine running quieter, smoother, with better oil pressure. This is what I call engine rehabilitation. It takes about 15,000 miles of proper maintenance to fully clean an engine that has been neglected, but it works. Let me also address something that comes up every time I talk about conventional oil. People say, but what about extreme temperatures? What about heavy towing? What about severe duty? Here is my answer. Conventional oil rated at 10W30 or 5W30 handles extreme temperatures just fine for most truck applications. The oil is circulating under pressure. The engine's oil galleries deliver oil to the bearings regardless of whether the oil is conventional or synthetic. The difference in protection comes not from the oil type, but from whether the oil is fresh, the correct viscosity, and clean. If you are running your truck hard, in extreme heat, or towing heavy loads, change your oil more frequently, not less. Every 2,500 miles if you are in severe duty, but still use conventional with Rizlone. It is still the better value and the better protection. One more thing before I wrap this up. Do not fall for the expensive oil analysis kits and the oil analysis services that tell you that you can run your oil for 10,000 miles if the analysis comes back clean. Oil analysis is a useful tool and I use it myself, but the way the synthetic oil industry markets it is backwards. They say, look, the oil is still good at 10,000 miles, so you do not need to change it. That is exactly backwards. You use oil analysis to confirm that your maintenance protocol is working correctly. You do not use it as an excuse to extend drain intervals beyond what the engine was designed for. If you do the Japanese trick and you change your oil every 3,000 miles with Rizlone, you do not need oil analysis. You know your engine is protected because you change the oil on time. The fresh oil is doing its job. The Rizlone is doing its cleaning. That is all you need. Here is my final point on this. The $3 Japanese trick is about more than just saving money. It is about taking control of your truck maintenance. It is about understanding what your engine actually needs and providing that in the most cost-effective way possible. The synthetic oil industry wants you to believe that engine protection is something you have to pay a premium for. That is their business model. They want you to feel like cheap oil is risky, like you need the expensive stuff to keep your engine safe. That is a lie. Your grandfather ran conventional oil in every truck he ever owned, and those trucks went 300,000 miles. The reason is not that he was lucky. The reason is that he changed his oil on time, he used the right weight, and he kept his engine internally clean. The Japanese trick gives you the same result for a fraction of the cost. If you are running synthetic and you want to switch to this protocol, you can. Just do your next oil change with conventional and Rizlone. No harm, no foul. Your engine will thank you for it. And if you have been running conventional and you want to stick with it, keep going. You are already doing the right thing. What oil are you running right now? Drop the brand and your current mileage in the comments. I read every single one and I respond to as many as I can. If this video helped you, if you learned something, hit subscribe. I've got more truck maintenance truth coming every week. Things the dealers do not want you to know. Things that will save you thousands of dollars over the life of your truck. I am Wade Tucker, and I have been turning wrenches on pickup trucks since before some of you were born. I will see you in the next one.